Hey there. This is a video about how the fundamentals will 10x your business by HyperSkalers, and specifically by me, Spencer Stuzynski. We're going to be talking about why the fundamentals will 10x your business, and about 5 different points. It should be short and simple, but very impactful. So let's get into it. We're first going to kind of use the reference source here and the inspiration today for this video from the great Brad Jacobs. Founded multiple billion-dollar companies, a lot of great points and takeaways, and truly a master at the fundamentals. So Brad is the founder of XPO, GXO, and QXO, and formerly United Rentals. He did sell that, but those XOs he currently still owns, and he is heavily involved in. But he has a lot of great points. His book's great. I've taken a lot of inspiration from his work and kind of how I've implemented it into our portfolio and kind of how we do things here at HyperSkalers and at Humani Holdings. So to start off, something cool is that I'm going to post about Brad breaking down update the status report, as you can see on the screen there. Hopefully you can see it, that he posted on LinkedIn. I just kind of, did a little breakdown of what he was talking about. He, actually ended up commenting on it, which was pretty cool. And he did like it. So I don't know Brad personally. Hopefully one day I will meet him, but he is somebody that I definitely look up to and has a lot of valuable insight. After founding multiple billion-dollar service companies, there's something that he knows that we don't. And there's a lot that we can take away from that. So that's what we're breaking down here today. So there's like 5 components that kind of I've taken away that I've benefited from and his kind of strategy. One is edge. So like, what are you good at? How can you be good at something, to beat somebody else? Like you have to have an edge. You need to be, faster if you're in the Olympics, or you need to be better at operations than the other service manager, or you need to be smarter and be able to write better code than the other developers, right? You need an edge somewhere. So again, we're gonna get into it about why an edge is really important, and obviously it's kind of self-explanatory. Everybody has an edge in something they do, right? You're either good at sales, you're good at marketing, you're good at leadership, you're good at coding, you're good at capital allocating, whatever it is, you have a skill, you're better than other people at it, so they trust you with their money, their resources, their time, etc. Now, the other part is with Brad's kind of thesis and my thesis combined is operations. Keeping simple operations. Stop trying to build a rocket in your business. Like just make the operations simple. All the best businesses have simple operations. So if you are trying to create some new system and it's taking longer than you expected and it has all these parts and you're so overwhelmed, it's because you're making it too complex. It doesn't need to be that complex. Sometimes being 100% and making something 100% accurate is not efficient, because the reality is it might only be 100% for one day out of the month and 95, 90. You need to aim for reasonable results. And even one of my clients that we were talking with, I was talking with yesterday, I just tried to explain in a simple fashion that the dashboard that you're seeing in front of your eyes is not the truth teller. It's never going to be 100% accurate. There's no way for it ever to be. There's too much complexity in the system. People could sign a contract and they can walk away last minute. People could get an install done and not pay. So that dashboard will never be fully accurate. And that's kind of the operations. And the thesis here is simplicity. Make your business simple, because simple is scalable and scalable equals profit. Another thing, sales and marketing, one of our really, really strong facets here. We believe, obviously, flood the gates. When we go and look at a company or we go and scale a company, we're looking at how can we add so much volume and sales into the business where it can't service those customers anymore, right? We want to explode the sales inside of the business and the marketing channels. So there's so much work that, number one, we can increase price, because all of a sudden people are demanding us more than we can even fulfill. So that's why supply demand, we're going to increase price. So our perspective is that that's the first step that we want to go to, unless obviously the business is already facing this. Then we solve for the other problems like people, data, operations, and other factors that may align into that equation. But what we think about is sales and marketing, fundamentally having an acquisition machine, a customer acquisition machine, and specifically more, I like to call it an investment machine. And that's kind of what I tell, portfolio founders and companies that we work with and people that we help scale is we want to create a profitable advertising machine where you put $1 in and you get $5 out, right? That's the whole goal. A lot of people think of advertising as it's an expense, but it shouldn't be an expense. It should actually be focused around the relative return to that channel. And that also comes into attribution and other things. We're gonna get into all that. But sales and marketing is definitely something that we love here, and it's the most important, and I'm gonna get into it because it's something that I think is just so fundamental. When a business is just plateaued, or it's failing, or it has high overhead, or whatever it may be, it's always gonna come back to sales and marketing. Sales and marketing can always fix everything. And growing the top line, growing revenue, having that skill is the most important skill in the business, right? Because operations, people will come to a business that's scaling fast or growing fast. The data, you can hire somebody. Operations, you can hire somebody. But figuring out what offer fundamentally works in the market that's actually allowing you to grow the business is what is allowing you to scale exponentially. And once you can crack that, all the other things fall into place. The operations, the data, because you're going to be making so much money, you could just hire whoever you need to do it. But those people you're hiring, don't expect them to be the ones that are going to take over the sales and marketing. Sales and marketing is a very delicate, fragile part of the business that, if done by the wrong person, will destroy a company. If done by the right person, will exponentially grow the company. And that's what we explain to our clients. It's like, cool, you've had referrals for your business. Like the entire lifetime of your business, you've just had referrals, and you've had good reputation in the community, just depending on what your service is, or people have recommended you, whatever, right? You can only go so far with that. Eventually, you have to start converting cold customers that don't know you, and you need to educate them about why your service is the best. But we'll get into that. You can already tell I'm a little passionate about sales and marketing. But people are obviously fundamentally part of the business. You need to hire talented people. If they are not talented and they are not a part of your vision, they are pulling your business down like this. They're pulling you down every day. They're making your business less profitable. They're driving your overhead up, and they're not aligned. They are, literally in the boat. You're in the front rowing the hardest. You have 2 paddles. All your teammates are on the sides. There's anybody that's not with your vision is literally going the opposite of the paddles. They are holding you back from moving forward down the river. So that's how you have to think about negative people in your business. B players, C players, D players. If you even have a D player, I just tell you right now, fire them. This is not advice, actually, all the legal documentation, whatever. But I would say that anybody that is not fully aligned with your vision, they are dragging your organization down. And whether you think it might be a short-term loss not to have that sales rep, not to have that operations manager, they are actually going to cause you so much more damage in the future the longer you wait and have them. You might as well just fire them today and figure out, put your hard hat on and figure out who needs to be in that place. And if not, you cover that spot until done, because they're going to cause more damage during that time than you will have during the time that there's nobody in that place, because effectively, you're going to be taking in that position. But that's people for you. I mean, I'm a really big believer in literally just A player, A player, A player. Anybody that falls to the bottom of the stack, the bottom 10%, cut out A player, and just continue to build a culture of all A players. And that's how you scale. But again, you have to crack sales and marketing, because if you don't, you can't afford these type of people. But okay, we're getting into data now. Data is obviously the most important. If you're not tracking stuff, you can't scale it. That's number one. If you are not tracking your data, if you don't know what it costs for a customer, if you don't know what it costs for a lead, if you don't know what it costs for an appointment, and you don't know what your margin is on a job, if they sell it at this, if for this material, that material, for this service package, for that service package, then you don't know your business, and don't expect to be able to just scale out of nowhere. Some businesses do get lucky, and I would recommend for you to never say that you're the one that's going to get lucky, because I know me, I have never gotten lucky. I've always had to nail the fundamentals to get to where I wanted to go. But I know a lot of people, not a lot actually, I know a few people that have gotten lucky by just somehow figuring it out. But if you're not tracking it, you can't scale it, especially if you're investing money into paid advertising and into good people. And if you're not tracking, and you don't have your KPIs aligned, then you're just going to get hammered. And that's the reality of it. Don't ever think that you're going to be the exception, because you're not. Okay. As far as the first point goes, like I said, is edge. So do what you're good at, right? If you aren't good at anything, get good at something. So it's pretty simple in my head. It's, some people are good at sales and marketing. Some people are good at operations. Some people are good at coding. Some people are good at capital allocating. Some people are good at deal making. It just all depends on what you're good at. And if you're not good at anything, get good at something. And, you don't need to be passionate about it. You just need to be good at it. And eventually you'll become passionate about it. That's what Alex Hormozi says a lot is, you might not like it right now, but imagine if you're the best at it. All of a sudden you do like it. You like going to work because you're going to outsell every single person in the company, or, you like being in business because you're going to outcompete every competitor in the area within 3 months. So you need to get good at something, especially if you're, owning a company. You fundamentally started it because you were a better plumber, you were a better electrician, you were a better HVAC tech than the other guy, right? Or you're a better allocator than your MD, whatever it may be. You were better at something. So get good at something. It's really, 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 really important. And again, this all comes back to the fundamentals. Get good at a skill, right? Most people want to be good at like 50,000 skills, but the reality is like all the best people in the world are really only good at one thing. So you have to solely focus on that. What we're focused on here is being good at business fundamentals, because most people neglect the fundamentals in business. Like I showed you here, operations, sales, marketing, people, and data. Most people don't even track what their cost per lead is, what their cost per acquisition is. They don't even know the numbers, and they don't even care to know them. They just wake up and go to work, wake up and go to work. Now, obviously in the larger enterprises, yes, they're going to be tracking it, but you would be surprised at what some of those numbers do look like at the top level. If they're not a public company, some of it is a rat's nest, and you wouldn't even think, oh yeah, that company probably has their stuff in order. Trust me, this is all over the board. This is not, small company, medium company. It's all over the board. Yes, it happens more in small, medium-sized enterprises and non-public companies, but it happens everywhere. So don't ever neglect the fundamentals, because that is what is going to take you the farthest and allow you to compound your skill set further and further and further than everybody else. So the other one is obviously the point is the operations. We already kind of got into this, but don't be lazy. Keep your operations clean, tight, and efficient. Trying to keep everything in one place running on one operating system. More complexity causes confusion and leads to margin erosion. Simple makes money. Stop trying to be a rocket scientist. You are trying to create this complex flow. You're trying to create this complex org chart. Execute with simple processes. Simple makes money. You will thank me later. Do not try to create this insane system that's going to allow you to 1,000 extra business. Focus on what's going to 2 extra business before you're going to 1,000 extra business. You need to really fundamentally understand, again, the fundamentals, and then build on those. You don't need to be a rocket scientist when you're building a service-based business, or for that matter, almost any business, because everything relies on the fundamentals, right? Risk management, capital allocation, or whether it's sales and marketing and data tracking for your paid advertising machine. It's all the same. It's fundamentals, and learning them properly and doing the hard work every day, because a lot of people are just going to neglect it and say, oh, well, we'll just let this do it or let that do it. We're just going to let AI do it. That's my new favorite one. We're going to let AI do it. We'll let AI figure it out. Stop. Focus on the fundamentals, and they will compound over time. The whole point that businesses exist, or you exist as a person, is to create leverage with your time, your skill set, et cetera, et cetera. You want to be able to create something that lives by itself. Right now, you might be creating a business. You might have a great business. You might have a failing business. The whole idea is that you want to be focused fundamentally on creating an organism that can live by itself. Right now, you might be in the phase of, repairing the organism, or repairing the business, whatever, starting the business, transitioning out of a corporate role into starting a company. You need to make that organism live and breathe by itself before you can just walk away. So you can't be lazy, and you need to keep things simple in the beginning until you can start to feel the compounding effect go past you. When the wheel starts to turn faster than you can run, that's how you know you've created something. Now you come on the side of it and assist it, just here and there, and you assist it. You're not the one running in the wheel to keep it going. That's how you create a profitable, scalable, simple business that makes a significant amount of profit, solely based around fundamentals. But all businesses are based around fundamentals. Whether you're selling GPUs like Jensen Huang, or you're selling HVAC units like Horizon Services, like, it's all the same. It's about fundamentals. So the other point that Brad has that's really good, and I'm always going to reference back to kind of this part, is sales and marketing, right? So his main focus, and our focus really, is going to be improve how quickly profits come in and get reused for the next batch of alpha. So alpha meaning obviously value creation. But whether it be deals, marketing, locations, keep money compounding instead of sitting still. Most people like to, get a couple wins and then hold back. What I believe in, especially in marketing and doing deals and obviously expanding, is really focusing on compounding. Every dollar you make should never be sitting in a bank account and being happy and pretty when you wake up in the morning. It should be constantly in effect to grow, 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 grow. Because again, like I told you, the same thing with the wheel effect. You're running on the wheel when you're even in middle and medium-sized enterprises. It just depends on how you've structured your organization. But for the most part, you want to be able to just be on the side assisting the wheel. And that's when you start to be more of an allocator rather than an operator internally in the business. You want to look at this as an angle of attack when it comes to really seeing where you can put your chips. As far as creating alpha, for us, it's always about getting into the next thing or doubling down on what's working. Now, you only know what works if you track it. So it all comes full circle to the fundamentals. But like if you know an advertising campaign is doing so well, you're going to double down on it. If you know that we did a deal in this market and it did really well, or we did a deal in this sector and it did really well, how can we compound it? Or how can we, instead of doing another deal, how can we open more locations of the existing company that we have? How do we greenfield, right? How do we go pop up 6 or 7 new locations around the country because we have a proven model that works? Just like franchises, right? Just like Honeygrow, Kava, obviously Chipotle is the winner of them all. How do you create a model that's efficient enough to go out there and boom, 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 and replicate it and reinvestors profits and reinvestors profits? So the wheel becomes bigger and faster and it keeps going and going and going and it spits off all that cash. Eventually, you will have a lot of cash reserves, but when you just hit the first couple of wins, you're not looking to lay back and say, hey, we're not looking to do anything now. You want to double down again and continue to reinvest in your business until you get that wheel to start spinning really, really fast. So don't stay still. Focus on alpha. Have a plan. Have a budget. And understand where you want to go. Management alpha. So I'm always going to reference back, like I mentioned, people. So people is obviously fundamentally after you can nail sales and marketing is really the most important thing in the business. Now, if you're already a large enterprise, then obviously you're going to be at a level where you're already spitting out cash flow. You can afford A players or good talented people. I would say that replacing B players with A players is just like it's a non-negotiable. Like you need to have people all rowing in the same direction. And you need to bring the best operators to run the most important clusters or parts of your company in order to scale. Like if you want to get to that next level and you're like plateauing or you don't know what's going on internally in every department, it's just because you have a people problem. Like if you have a good person in your business, you and any owner can relate to this. Like you don't have to double check. You don't have to double check. Like and I've obviously I'm telling you this because this is something that I've learned. I've always had to put people in places and then like double check their work because they're just not good enough. But at a certain point in time, you realize that it's just like you're not hiring the right person. You're just coping and you're thinking, oh, they're just the right person. You think they are. You had a good interview with them, whatever. You think they're the right person, but they're not. If you have to check on somebody, they're not the right person. Anybody in the software world knows this for sure. Like if you're good, you're good. Like you don't need to tell them what to do. And Alex Hormozi would say it as a vocab thing, like titles don't matter. They don't mean shit. But like what I would say is like you look at sales and marketing, right? Sales and marketing is a function of the business. But like you have, sales and marketing, you have like, paid advertising, you have like content, you have all the other little nooks and crannies underneath. But somebody that is insanely talented, that's an A player, looks at sales and marketing and knows all those roles. They know all the subcategories. But somebody that's not good is a B player or C player is going to be like, oh yeah, I know how to do, paid advertising. I know how to do content. Like they don't know the whole entire picture. They just know a small subsection. Now, obviously, you want somebody to be the king of that subsection too. But first, you got to have somebody the king of the division. You got to have somebody that knows sales and marketing in the business fundamentally probably better than you. You should understand the engine that's driving sales and marketing, the softwares that are needed. Like you should understand the strategy that you're pursuing, so you have the insight. But then it should be outsourced because you need to focus on all the other pieces of the business. You need to focus on making sure the right person's in the HR department and the operations department and ensure that the leadership team is being built and ensuring that everybody's rowing the same direction. You can't be stuck in one hole. You need to find somebody that can fill the hole to the top or just right above the top so you can look in just a little bit and know what's going on because you understand sales and marketing. You have a KPI dashboard where you see, okay, we're on track this month. We're here. That's how you should be as an allocator of time, capital, resources. As the owner, that's how you should look at your business. It's not looking in every different hole. Now, when you first start, if you're starting out, you're going to be in the trenches somewhere because like I told you need an edge. But the end all be all edge of the best operators like Brad are somebody that understands that he needs to run the entire organism, not just one leg of the octopus or of the centipede or whatever it may be. He needs to run all of it. He needs to oversee everything and be able to put his insight into these small little buckets and these small amounts of time to be able to grow the enterprise. If not, you're just going to get burned because you can't be stuck in sales and marketing or you can't be stuck in operations for multiple days at a time when you're running $1 billion enterprise. It just doesn't work. It won't work because there's other people that have already figured this out and they understand how to build those feedback cycles into their processes so they know exactly what's going on. They know when the KPIs are off because the numbers mean one thing, but the head of that department, the director or the whatever, the CFO, the CEO, the COO, they understand what's going on too. You're getting both of those feedbacks at once and then you will understand if it's your company, you'll understand if that feels right or not. Okay, well, the KPIs say this, you're saying this. It might just mean that you're a B player and you're lazy and you're telling me a lie. And the KPIs are saying that, listen, we're down this quarter and it's not because of the economic conditions. It's because of your lack of understanding of this industry. And obviously you need to make a tough decision there. But don't make the tough decision. Don't make the tough decision take a lot of time because if somebody needs to be fired, they need to be fired. Like I told you, if you think that you could just be in the front rowing the whole entire time, you're not. You're going to get burned by everybody else and you're going further back than you ever would if you keep leaving that person and you keep holding it off. We're going to reference back. This is my favorite one, data. So data. Data is something that is funny to me because everybody hates it. It's the most boring thing, but it really is something that is so important. Like I will always reference back to sales and marketing as being a fundamental piece to ensuring your business is actually alive. Because if you don't have money, you don't have anything, right? If you don't have money in your business, you're just going to run out of resources immediately. But once you get to that point, you'll lose the money that you're making because you're not tracking where it's going. So you need to be able to aggregate all the insights into the company. And you need to track all the important KPIs. Now, there are some things that they need to be tracked, but they don't need to be paid attention to like others. Like if you need to understand obviously where your margin sits all across the board in the business. You need to understand what your cash flow cycles look like, your reinvestment of that cash flow. And innately on top of that, you need to know how the organism is breathing on a month-to-month basis or even a bi-weekly basis. How is the cash flow feeling in the business? Obviously you're going to be tracking your margin, your overhead, and all the other things under the sun. But additionally to that, you need to understand how the cash sits in the business. When you make $5 million in a week and you make $7 million in the next week and you make $5 million in the next week, how do you ensure that you're always budgeted out, you're always teed up, you're always making sure these cycles are making sense logically to the organism itself? Is it time for reinvestment? Is it time for a slowdown? You need to be able to make decisions quickly and swiftly, and you need to play ahead of the game. Meaning that if you start to see slowdown in specific areas and you realize, hey, it might be time to start laying off employees because I think the industry might take a hit the next couple of years, or whatever it may be. It's just like the same thing with an investment, right? If you invest into, just say, a specific stock and you realize that, maybe EV cars are kind of pulling back. Maybe we're transitioning more towards gas. Maybe regulation will be revoked or whatever it may be. You understand that, hey, maybe I need to get out of this investment if you feel that way. It's the same thing with data. You're going to see a certain amount of data in real time, but as you're able to aggregate it, you're able to predict more in the future, which is going to innately allow you to create a better decision and make a better decision, so that you don't get so you don't get hit with, obviously, random circumstances that can potentially sabotage your business. But additionally to that, it's more so that you're being proactive instead of reactive. You want to be able to predict so that you're proactive and can make the right decision over and over and over again. Because most of the time, especially from what I've seen, is that it's not about the short term. It's always going to be about the long term. So it's about how long you can stay alive in the game, right? Like you could beat anybody in business if you can outlive them, right? So the whole goal is always going to be is how do you just outlive? How do you continue to make the right decisions over and over and over again? How do you not get too greedy? How do you not make the bad mistake twice? How do you not overpay specific people that are not going to drive value, right? And like you're only going to get this from experience. You're going to learn over time what the correct decision is, but you never want to get yourself out of the game. So that's why aggregating data, tracking stuff, will always keep you in the game longer because you can predict what's going to happen and you can make decisions before those things happen to be proactive. But I mean, that's really it for today. My last thing would be, if you can't track it, you can't scale it. It's that simple, right? If you don't know your numbers, and then all those other things will fall into place. But as far as everything goes, Brad Jacobs' perspective on kind of the game is really, 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 it's a really big part of my thesis. But innately, a lot of people have their own thesis, but I think it all always revolves around the fundamentals. But if you're interested in potentially working with us, right now we're really focused on growing companies between $3 and $10 million in EBITDA in service-based businesses. So if you're focused on that, you're looking to ramp up paid advertising and just innately growing the company and really figuring out your data, your dashboards, and understanding how to grow, how to be proactive and predictive about your business and innately grow further than you are now, then feel free to contact us below on that first link. It's going to be linked to our website, and just maybe you'll book a call with me, maybe you'll book a call with one of my other guys. But look forward to speaking with you if you do happen to take that step. If not, there will be some other stuff down below. But yeah, I appreciate you watching and enjoy the rest of your day.